Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hari Bol, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Giridhari, Radha Giridhari, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribra. Haribol. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giruvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giruvaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sutta Rishi Maris Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Dinamani. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamani. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschyatyade Satarini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Paishu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Happy birthday to Sudevi. Haribo. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Good to see you, many of you. Good to see you, Sarah. And we're going to actually finish the chapter 7. 53 to 58 verses. Right, so we will chant verse 54 and the rest I will chant and then we'll speak a little. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Brahmabandhu na hantavya atataiva darhanaha Mayavobhyayam amnatam Paripahi anusasanam Kuru pratishrutam satyam Kuru pratishrutam satyam Yatat santvayata priyam Yatat santvayata priyam Priyam cha bhimasenasya Priyam cha bhimasenasya Panchalya mahayameva cha Panchalya mahayameva cha Guru pratishrutam satyam Yatat santvayata priyam Priyam cha bhimasenasya Panchalya mayameva cha. Please chant. Guru pratishrutam satyam Yatat santvayata priyam Priyam cha bhimasenasya Panchalya mayameva cha. Guru pratishrutam satyam Ladies, Guru pratishrutam satyam Yatat santvayata priyam Priyam cha bhimasenasya Panchalya mayameva cha. Yatat santvayata priyam Priyam cha bhimasenasya Panchalya mayameva cha. Guru abide by pratishrutam as promised by Satyam, truth, Yatat, that which, Santvayata, while pacifying, Priyam, dear wife, Priyam, satisfaction, Cha, also, Bhimasenasya, of Sri Bhimasena, Panchalyaha, of Draupadi, Mahayam, unto me also, Eva, certainly, Cha, and translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me. Please repeat. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed. But if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me. Purport: Arjuna was perplexed because Ashvatthama was to be killed as well as spared according to different scriptures cited by different persons. As a Brahma Bandhu or a worthless son of a Brahmana, Ashvatthama was not to be killed. But he was at the same time an aggressor also. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, and what to speak of an unworthy son of a Brahmana, is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Ashvatthama was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when he is without weapon or chariot, cannot be killed. All these were certainly perplexities. Besides that, Arjuna had to keep the promise he had made before Draupadi just to pacify her. And he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna, who advised killing him. This dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the solution was awarded by Krishna. Alright, text 55. Sutavacha Arjuna sahasajñaya harer hardam matasina manim jahara murdanyam dvijasya sahamurdajam. Translation: just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashvatthama. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashvatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here Ashvatthama is indicated as twice born. Certainly he was twice born, but he fell down from his position and therefore he was properly punished. 56. Vimuchya rasana baddham balahatya hata prabham tejasa manina hinam shibiran nirayapayat. He, Ashvatthama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus he was unbound and driven out of the camp. Purport. Thus being insulted, the humiliated Ashvatthama was simultaneously killed and not killed by the intelligence of Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Text 57. Vapanam dravinadanam sthanam niryapanam tata eshahi brahma bandhunam vadonanyasti daihikaha. Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. Text 58. Putra shokhatura sarve pandava saha krishnaya swanam mritanam yadkrityam chakru nirharanadikam. Thereafter the sons of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Son of Drona Punished. Om Ajnanatam Randasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Gariti Vachalum Pangum Langete Girim Yadkripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madham Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Savodito Gododiya Pushvanto Chitra Sando Tamo Nuto. So we see this particular section where Ashvatthama kill the children of the Pandavas, or the sons of Draupadi. Practically, I think it starts around verse 12, 13, 14, around there. That's when this section starts. And pretty much we have gone through the different ways of cutting a cake, right? Slicing it in different ways and trying to understand the reasoning behind why certain things are performed in certain circumstances. Now here Srila Prabhupada highlights, and it's very important for us to understand, that one of the things, because everyone, if you ask 10 different devotees, right, of a recipe, they'll give you 10 different recipes, and that's a fact. And so similarly here, 10 different personalities, or the brothers of Arjuna, his wife, as well as Krishna and others, they all gave him different instructions of what to do with Ashvatthama. And so, what to speak of Arjuna? What about us, right? We all get so perplexed with ordinary things. And so here he's supposed to kill or not. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.7, there's a famous verse, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha sammudaha. So Arjuna is telling to Krishna, I am bewildered. I don't know what to do, actually, This is after the war, that today's Bhagavatam, the verses are, but that was before the war. So in both cases, Krishna puts him into a perplexed situation. Why? Just to show us how a devotee thinks, actually. And he also shows us that in our cases, we may rush into some action. We may immediately want to do something without thinking through carefully. Or we think we know the answers, right? And then we make decisions on our own, and only to find later that if only I had thought deeper, if only I had consulted, right? I wouldn't have made these choices. So Arjuna is showing very nicely that when we are in a situation where it's not an easy solution, we should think carefully first. We should then approach qualified people to bounce it on them, right? And see what they have to say. Maybe there's something I missed in the way I have analyzed my situation. So therefore, Arjuna first asked his good friend Krishna, hey Krishna, what to do? So So I'll take you back to what happens. At the end of Kurukshetra war, Ashwatthama kills the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. Why he did that? He wanted to please Duryodhana, his boss, who was already defeated. Duryodhana was smashed, his thighs were all smashed, and he was just dying slowly. At that time, Ashwatthama came and told him, I will go and destroy the Pandavas. And so, according to Mahabharata, Duryodhana says, okay, you become the chief of my army. There was hardly anybody. There's only 3 other people. There were only 3 people. Ashwatthama, Kripacharya, and Kirtavarma. So these 3 people. And so they all went to the Pandavas' camp, but then it was protected by this ghostly form, but actually it's Lord Shiva. And they couldn't penetrate. So at that time, Ashwatthama, as you've heard before, he is actually a portion of Lord Shiva, his combination of Lord Shiva's potency plus the mode of passion and ignorance. And so that's Ashwatthama. But he's a Brahmana, okay? He's also a Brahmana. And so he meditates, and then he realizes this protection is by Lord Shiva. And so he prays to Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva comes, he wanted to sacrifice himself, and because he couldn't get through the defenses of the Pandavas. And so Lord Shiva blessed him and said, you will be able to penetrate. And Lord Shiva himself goes into Ashwatthama's body, and then he gets into a fiery ghost-like figure and charges into the camp of the Pandavas, and he kills all of them. Dristadumna, Shikandi, and all of the different warriors there. And finally he sees these 5 young boys in their camp, and he chops them off, all their heads. And then he happily takes all this and goes to see Duryodhana and shows them, I have done it, I've killed. Duryodhana was at first he was very happy. He was thinking, all the wonderful, powerful warriors like Bhishma and Drona couldn't, and you have done it. I'm so happy. And when he showed them the head of the children, he said, oh, get lost from here. That is not proper, what you just did, is not proper. And in doing that, he feels bad, and of course Duryodhana so when later on Ashwatthama leaves, and he's thinking, how else can I please my king Duryodhana? So at that time he decides to kill all the Pandavas by releasing this very powerful weapon called Brahmastra. Now in the battle of Kurukshetra, nobody used that weapon because it's so powerful it can destroy 3 planetary systems. So therefore he was like, thinking he had no choice, everything is gone. So when the children were killed, or I shouldn't say children, they were about 16-year-old, the boys. At that time, generally you get prepared for fighting in the war, and they were also fighting in the war. So anyway, Draupadi cries, and so Arjuna, to pacify her, promises to bring back the head of Ashwatthama. He says, I promise you. And then after cremating our children and all our descendants, all our kinsmen, you can take bath standing on the head of Ashwatthama. You think about it, it's so gory, right? It's so too much actually. As I mentioned previously, it's like the Game of Thrones, just like that, all too much actually. So when at that moment, having said that, he chases Ashwatthama, and who out of fear releases a Brahmastra, a very powerful weapon, and the whole sky, the sound, everything changes. There are thunder and growling noises, and it's devastating sound. So he looks at his friend again, Krishna, and says, Krishna, what is this? And so Krishna tells him, this is the work of the son of Drona, Drauni. he calls him. So he explains he is trying to kill all the Pandavas. So at a distance he releases this, and so he says the only way you can do is you have to counter it by another Brahmastra. And so Arjuna releases his Brahmastra, having consulted with Lord Krishna, and he releases to counter it. Now, in the Bhagavatam, it doesn't go into too much detail, but in the Mahabharata, as he does it, both the Brahmastra comes together and they're kind of like neutralized, but the heat produced is unbearable. It is scorching. Everyone is feeling the heat. And it's going up and upper planetary and lower planetary. So at that time, Vyasadeva and Narada, they come into that battlefield. And then they stop the Brahmastras from hitting at one another. So when Narada on one side and Vyasa on the other side. So as soon as Narada appears, Arjuna feels, oh, this is an exalted person, and then I shouldn't, disturb them. And so he offers obeisances, and then understanding that he shouldn't be shooting the Brahmastra, he chants, meditating on the Supreme, and he withdraws the weapon. But the other weapon was still coming towards them, but has been held by Vyasadeva. And so Vyasadeva then talks to Ashwatthama and says, how can you do this? He tells him, you are a son of a Brahmana, although you are acting like a fool, although you are acting unqualified, still you have good qualities, you are exalted, and you shouldn't be doing this. You should give up this, Look at what Arjuna just did. He withdrew the weapon. It goes to show he didn't want to use it. And he doesn't want to kill you actually. He just was using it to neutralize the weapon. He wasn't using, unlike you. So then Ashwatthama, obviously understanding, he says, great sage, I understand what you're doing, but I've already released it and I don't know how to withdraw it. I don't have that technology. I don't know how to, because although his father taught him how to use the weapon, his father did not teach him how to withdraw it, And so he did not learn that. And he said, I do not know what to do, but I know what to do, because he's so angry still. He said, I'm going to use this to destroy all the embryos in all the Pandava kins, all the kins ladies. And so I'm releasing towards them. So therefore he deflects the Brahmastra towards and then at that time Krishna tells Ashwatthama, he says, you rascal, you deserve to be killed. you don't know what you're doing. But many years ago a Brahmana predicted that the entire Kuru dynasty will be extinct. But from the womb of Uttara, a son, Parikshit will come and he will start the lineage again, So, but Ashwatthama is angry. He said, no, I am now sending this to Uttara's womb. And then he sends it. And Krishna says, okay, you rascal. And then he goes into the womb and, he says, yes, your Brahmastra will not fail. It will kill the fetus in her womb, but I will revive it. And so he goes inside, and you will read in the Bhagavatam, Parikshit actually loses his entire body. It burns up. But the Lord blesses and he gets another body. Yeah. And that's how he protects. And having done that, Krishna curses Ashwatthama. And at in the Bhagavatam, Krishna tells Ashwatthama that, because you're such a rascal and because you've done something unspeakable, you've killed young boys when they were sleeping. This is not acceptable. He said, I curse you to wander in this Kali Yuga for 3,000 years. For 3,000, it's over already. 3,000 years, but your body will ooze with pus and all kinds of terrible stuff, and nobody will be able to associate with you, and you'll go into the remotest jungles and forests and deserted locations, and that's your abode for 3,000 years. So then he accepts the curse, and he thanks Vyasadeva, and then they kick him out of the camp, and that's when he loses. Obviously, Vyasadeva also in the Mahabharata, Vyasadeva tells Ashwatthama, before you should give your jewel. And Ashwatthama argues with him. He says, no, this jewel is more valuable than all the wealth of both the Pandavas and the Kurus. And one who wears it is most powerful. They will not get disease. They have a long life. They are able to withstand the Nagas, the demigods, and everybody. So imagine how powerful Ashwatthama is. He is so powerful, but not as powerful as Krishna or Arjuna. Yeah. And so then obviously when he said that he himself takes out the jewel and gives it to Vyasadeva. And then Vyasadeva presents it to, I think, Bhima. He comes there. And so Bhima rushes to Draupadi and says, here's the jewel from the head of that rascal. Okay. So now the other issue here is the Dharma itself. Now, according to the different categories of Varna, you have certain type of Dharma that you have to perform, and also the type of punishment that the king generally will pass on. That means if a Brahmana does something, then he's punished in a different way. If a Kshatriya does it, it's done in a different way. If a Vaishya does it, then he is punished in a different way. Same as if a Shudra, generally for punishing a Shudra, you give them labor. But then that's his swakarma. That's his karma. He does. So the punishment for Shudra is hard labor, even more. Like going to prison and breaking stones forever. So that's the thing. For a Vaishya, you take away his possessions. Yeah. For a Kshatriya, you take away his weapons and kingdom. Yeah. And for a Brahmana, you take away his honor? No, honor is the Kshatriya. Home, take him away from where he is residing. No more protection by the kings and so on. So you can see there's different punishment meted out for different types of people. So generally, even among even in Kali Yuga, among all of us, if a child does something wrong, the parents will chastise them in a certain way. But if the same punishment is done by an older child, then they will punish in a different way. Sometimes, kids will do the same thing. I remember when we were growing up, the oldest kid get the heaviest punishment. And then they'll say, but he did it also. And then my mom would say, well, he's just a little kid. He doesn't know. You should know better. So it's in the same way, when we are going through this, it is so confusing even for us to understand. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki Jai, Shri Giri Govardhan Nath ki Jai, Shri Shintai Chaitanya Chandra, Shri Shintai Gaura Chandra ki ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki Jai. So here in the Bhagavatam, we see Krishna telling Arjuna not to show any mercy. Don't show mercy to this so-called Brahmana, because he is Brahmana in name only, and he had killed innocent boys. Why? What is wrong? They are also Kshatriyas, because they were sleeping, and normally a Kshatriya doesn't kill another Kshatriya when they are without weapon. They don't. That's the etiquette among the Kshatriyas. And so interestingly, now Aswatham has no weapon also, and is in front of them. So Krishna is saying, well, he deserves to be killed. So maybe what they should have done is give him a weapon and then shoot him, right? That's that's how they do it in the modern society, or in movies and so on, right? Yeah. And then they'll shoot them, they give a cause for killing them, yeah. So then he tells him also, you also promised Draupadi you will behave. Even if you don't follow me, fine, but you promised Draupadi that you would behead him. Yeah? He murdered young boys and has displeased his own master, Duryodhana. And therefore he is not worthy to be alive, which is a good point. But when they came back to the camp, Arjuna didn't want to kill him, just like that, because he realized this is also my teacher's son. I learned from him. He's my preceptor's son. There is something there. I can't just kill him. So he brought them to the camp, and Draupadi then shows her mild and gentle nature, and her compassion also. And she gives her point of view, being that, sure, he killed my sons, but still I have my husbands and everyone. I'm okay. I can accept that. So now you have to understand this personality, Draupadi, is not of this age. That's one thing. She's from a previous age, and that's another thing. She's also a very exalted personality. They have such a culture that they can understand, different levels and different combinations of sufferings, and how to see it and how to absorb it and digest it. We can't. We see someone get hit, we immediately take sides. Immediately we'll take side with the underdogs. We don't even know the whole story, but we'll follow them. And so a lot of pain and suffering by our choices we cause in the present day. We can see in the society itself, each country fighting with another country, and nobody knows why they're fighting at all. Even the people on the front lines, they say, well, ours is not to question why, ours is to do and die. That's the motto in the army, that's what they say. Huh? Yeah, so that's the motto. If you go to, I was in the army, so that's what they tell me also, yeah. So here is a Brahmana who's not acting like a Brahmana. He was an aggressor, but he has no weapons. How to come up with something. But of course, Krishna blesses Arjuna, and Arjuna understands, because Aswatham is very attached to this jewel, and for him he was born with the jewel, and then he's so attached to it. If the jewel is taken away, he feels like as if he lost his life, yeah. So therefore, indirectly he understood, okay, it's when you take the jewel away, it's as good as taking his head away, and it is as good as death itself. For a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death itself. Yeah. So Arjuna very intelligently he understands by the mercy of Krishna, knowing that yes, this is the way to do it. Now in our context, in our lifestyle, when we are in differences between another devotee and so on, are we going to dishonor the other person? How do we do it? What is the context? Right? So we have to be very sensitive also, In some situation, among devotees actually we cannot be very passionate about proving and wanting justice immediately. Because once again, and I've repeated many times, justice is not for us to mete out. Justice is Krishna's. So we have to find a way where it makes sense for the other person, that he or she understands that they made a bad mistake or choice. And what does it mean? It means it transforms them, transforms their heart that they realize, I made a bad choice, I made a bad mistake. And so they can, understanding their mistake, come forward and accept their mistake and apologize and ask for forgiveness. So that's how the action should be for us as practicing devotees of Vaishnavas. Whereas you can see here, they already have Kshatriya Dharma, Vaishya Dharma, and all different levels of Dharma, and they all know this very well. And although they each of them quote something, they are not quoting actually what a friend of a Brahmana Dharma is. Basically, you just kick the bugger out. So in the Mahabharata, it says, censure is the only punishment for a Brahmana offender. Censure. You just censure them person. Okay, go. Get out. No more talking. So that's enough for a Brahmana. Whereas for a Kshatriya, you take away his properties, all the properties, his kingdom, everything. But you should make sure he has sufficient food to eat. Don't make that they don't have anything to eat, or maintain their life. And for a Vaishya, you take away his possessions completely, because he's so, greedy. He's attached to it. So that's how you punish them. And as I mentioned, for Shudra, you give them hard labor, not just labor, hard labor, because labor is normal for them. So you give them extra hard labor. Yeah. So based on an individual, you can sometimes give them certain punishment, and you say, okay, go and wash the toilet. And they may not like it. Oh, I'm in home, nobody makes me wash toilet. No, you're here, you're washing toilet for Krishna. But I don't do these things. Hare, that is your ego now, so it's very difficult. So how do you come across to such individual? How do you make them understand this is a service, it is not beneath you? So again, a devotee has to see where the level of intelligence that person is sustaining in their lifestyle. And based on that, then you have to give them that kind of constructive criticism as well as constructive punishment. But they will not see it as a punishment because they are too much ego for them. So all these considerations must be thought through carefully. Otherwise it's very difficult for us to function within a community, within a society, so that we can have living exchanges at the end of the day. All right, no problem. You did that for your atonement. I want you to go and wash the deity plates. All of them. You don't let the puja. You do and sweep the pujari room. Okay, I'll do that. Right? Because it's pujari, it's Krishna's abode. But if you say toilet, it doesn't gel well with them. Right? Yeah. So elevating their consciousness in that way, later on they'll say, I will do this service. I'll wash the toilet because that's what I deserve. Yeah. So they grow in that fashion. These lessons we see in the Bhagavatam is not just as a story and so we feel so wonderful. As we read here, we see how Krishna becomes Chaturbhuj also. It's because they are all wanting to kill Ashwatthama. So he uses 4 hands to stop them, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti. How many more hands can he sprout? Unlimited hands he can sprout. Yeah. But in that situation, he wants to help the devotees out. Yeah. So having said that, people do need to be punished according to the level of crime they do and so on. So I was reading an article, and then in the article there was an author. He writes this article, and he had actually murdered someone, and he was given a second chance because he was 16 years old when he committed the crime. So then he went to this. This incident happened a few years ago. There's an individual who went to a church and killed 12 people, and so the judge there said, "There is no place for you or your ignorance, hateful, evil ideologies in a civilized society. There can be no mercy for you no understanding, no second chances. The damage you have caused is too great and the people you have hurt are too valuable to this community. You will never see the light of day as a free man ever again. So the author was saying, he understands acutely both the families and the society's thirst for retribution and revenge. Actually, which is not what we are supposed to do. We don't seek revenge. Why? Because we often confuse, as I mentioned earlier, confuse with justice. Right? We want to take revenge, but that's not justice. So we should be very careful. So if you think very deeply about it, what does it mean to give someone second chance? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Abhichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhag Sadhareva Samantavya Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. He said, if they are rightly situated, if they immediately turn towards Krishna and never do these bad activities again, then they are rightly situated, they are a devotee. You should consider this person a sadhu. Right. So Krishna gives us an indication, an idea of how to judge situations that we go through in life. Instead of immediately take the weapons, ballistic weapons, and then shoot the bugger, boom, boom, boom. So we find that even in society, people think about giving others second chance. But you find among devotees, it's very hard to get second chance, Yeah, it's very difficult. Devotees are far more, Yeah, one time they cut you in two pieces and they'll never let you join together. Yeah, it's very harsh because devotees are, because we are so sensitive that we sometimes fail to understand that just as I am hurt, this person also may be hurting from the crime or whatever they did, the offense they did, Of course, if there's no retribution, if there's no transformation in the heart of the other person, then they don't deserve to be forgiven in that context. But in any sense, in any case, we should understand that. So then he quotes another person who has written, this is a Ku Klux member. He wrote a memoir. He wrote a memoir. And the memoir is entitled The Sun Does Shine, How I Found Life and Freedom on Death Row. So during his time behind bars, this person, Hinton, became friends with another prisoner on death row, Henry Hayes, a Ku Klux Klan member who was executed in 1997 for a truly heinous crime he committed 14 years earlier. But in that isolated environment, stripped of all other outside influences, Hayes and Hinton got to know each other's soul. Now, Hinton, who wrote the memoir, is actually a black person. Whereas the other person, Hayes, he is a white Ku Klux member. And they got to know each other's souls. And before he was finally put to death, Hayes, who's going to die, told Ray, all of my life, my father, my mother, my community taught me to hate. But the very people that they taught me to hate have taught me how to love. I discovered I have a brother named Ray. And then he left. Yeah. So it's very important for us, don't burn bridges, Don't burn the bridges. You never know, you may want to cross it one day. Yeah. So develop compassion. Of course, you have to know how to treat a person who's really on that level, and another level, and a higher level. We have to know all that. But at the same time, the compassion element must be in all these 3 or 4 circumstances and how we meet and treat people. Because when they leave and they leave you and go, they should feel that their life is worth it. And that they have something they can contribute to society, at least something positive, if not for Krishna himself. right? So we are Krishna consciousness, and the way we treat people, when they look upon us as someone so kind and help them, indirectly they are connected to Krishna. And that is so wonderful. All right, so I'll stop here. I'll give you opportunities. All of you can add to this very interesting topic in the Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Please, questions, comments? Yeah. What is it?
According to Manusmriti, 4 types of aggressors to be punished.
Yes.
So you are asking us to forget Manu Samhita?
Manu Samhita. Yeah, Manu Samhita is also there, but I said according to the individual, you have to be very intelligent how to give them the type of punishment they require. Yeah. We can't just say one rule for all, you know. Sometimes you go to this, especially in Asia, they say one size fits all, you know. So you can't have this one rule for all.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for a great class. One question, one observation. Observation first is, in my own life I've found when I think I'm completely right under all circumstances and no one can convince me otherwise, and I get to that point where I'm like, justice now. But what I found is when I stop acting like that and I just wait patiently, Krishna moves things in a way that you can see, okay, he obviously sees what's going on, so I'm just going to sit back and relax. Like, I don't have to get
worked up.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Just give it up and wait.
Yeah.
But a question was, in the first verse we read, Krishna refers to Manu Samhita, which I was surprised by, because it also says later in the Bhagavatam that is the scripture mostly for karma kanda, that people who are looking to be elevated piously, materially, to a higher planet.
Yeah.
So he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could have quoted any scripture.
Of course. Well, whatever he says is scripture.
Why that one is my question.
Because it's for common people, you know, when they are reading and so on, they will understand. First, Krishna takes from the lowest denominator, so everyone knows Manu Samhita. And so the whole Varnashram is based on Manu Samhita, right? And then after that you go to different dharma, Kshatriya dharma, Brahmana dharma, and all the different dharmas. So the king studies all that, and so they know how to punish the perpetrators like that. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the explanation. So
You have
I
to
have a
speak
question.
louder.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the explanation. So I have a question regarding the giving time to understand, like still they are sadhu, like as you...
Giving time to understand?
Still they are sadhu, like forgive...
Oh, yeah. It'll take time for us, yeah.
So what if in that case, if the person's nature is that, like if the person or the devotee, so-called devotee is in a higher position in the society,
they're doing silly things.
And doing silly things, but still we are thinking, oh, they are devotees, and let's give some time to become. But
no.
What if that during that time again?
No, if you see things like that, then you have to approach a higher authority and say, from your point of view, you are seeing them superior, but a higher authority can see them and then talk to them and then help them out from their problems they are facing. Yeah. So we shouldn't get into this kind of thing where we think, oh, this person has been in the movement for 10 million years, so I cannot say anything. No, if they do something wrong, it should be highlighted to the proper authority so that some action can be done to help them continue in their journey towards Krishna. Otherwise, they are committing some sinful activity and then they are going downwards, spiraling down. Krishna says, to the demons, right? I'll cast them forever. They can take birth in a lower form. So it can happen to even devotees. They may have to experience lower forms of life and then understand, I shouldn't be doing this nonsense. Yeah, so that's one aspect we should do. But if you are equal, if you're peers, then as a friend you can chastise your friend sometimes, and say, you fool, why are you doing this, If you're not going to fix yourself, I'm going to take action. Yeah, but if you're superior, then immediately you can say, you rascal, you should be killed, like Krishna tells Asvatam, But of course, when you say that, you don't mean it. You're meaning it's a serious crime. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Giri Govardhan, Shri Chinta Jantai Gaura Chandra ki Jai, ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki Jai. Now, for example, in ISKCON there were leaders who have used their position to ruin other people's life, sexually or in terms of managerial position and so on. When it was found out, our ISKCON movement took them out of their position, and then even sanctions against them, that they cannot come to any temple, they cannot do any activities. So those things are there. Why? Because our society is less forgiving than the society in the Bhagavatam. Yeah? So based on the society also, we have to also administer punishments accordingly. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Krishna Kipa wanted to say something.
Thank you for all of that. Particularly, and just to show how these things work on a society, you were mentioning this thing about the prisoners back home in Alabama, where I'm from, after leaving, and even a person related to one of my siblings' partners, that married into. Every time this father of several children, would come into their neighborhood, there was a big oak tree just kind of sitting out by itself.
Oak tree?
Oak tree, yeah, big tree, like we made Jagannath.
Right.
Big limbs, they go out kind of lateral, like almost horizontal. And he would always say how it would look so nice to see a particular type of person hanging from that tree.
That's so...
He would say this all the time. When his son grew up, they killed someone.
Oh no.
And then hung him up in that tree. They got caught. All these things happened. So this is conditioning.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate, most lowest, horrible side of conditioning. So bringing that up to what you were just saying about our movement, and as devotees, and etc., we've all been conditioned. Asvatthama was conditioned to hate the Pandavas because Duryodhana's father had the power. So as a twisted up Brahmana, he put his faith in that side. And therefore all these heinous acts are happening after the fact. It's all done, and still he's trying to make a place for himself by, killing off all these other personalities.
Right. Yes.
So within ISKCON, we're all corrupted at some level. Some not so much, some more in this direction or that direction. So the only way we can affect that change in the world that Srila Prabhupada expected us to is to just try to elevate each other to a higher position of consciousness. We're all corrupt because it's Kali Yuga. 10 verses into the Bhagavatam, we're told what human beings are like, which aren't human. Even Arjuna, his problem was he wasn't going to act like a Kshatriya. Krishna instructed him, oh, this is actually what we have to do. It's the end of the age. We got to get rid of these people.
Right.
Up to the point that he's stuck with a Brahmana that should be killed and can't be killed. But the solution was not this Shastra or that Shastra or this. What does Krishna want? Coming to the conclusion that Krishna actually wants to show mercy and compassion above everything else. And we see that because Lord Chaitanya came some 4,500 years later to give us that out, that ability to become Krishna conscious in spite of everything else. And I just love the way that you tied all that in together. Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Thank you for that. Nice. Another question?
Verse actually, Krishna says Mahyam, right?
Huh?
Mahyam, like Bhimshena and Mahyam. To please me and Bhimshena, you should kill. So there's a free will exercised. Of course, Draupadi takes the best decision there. But how is it like treatments? Like, can you tell how that thing comes up? Like how you treat Krishna treats that one as a free will, or in a good sense, or because
Everything is free will. The jiva is always free will.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in regard to killing of the Ashodhama or not killing the Ashodhama,
Yeah. It's a free will.
so
But based on either Shastra or based on what Krishna wants. That's the whole discussion is all about. Yeah.
so in this case, Shastra won over Krishna, or
There's no question of Shastra one. He satisfied both the Shastra as well as Krishna's desire. Yeah. So as a devotee, when you do something, we want to satisfy Krishna, ultimately, as Prabhu is saying. So when you satisfy Krishna, everyone will be satisfied, unless they are demoniac. Yeah. Right? Just like the example where Krishna takes some small prasadam and Durvasa Muni and his followers all fell full. So in the same way, you please Krishna and everything is fine. Okay? Alright, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much.